There was no requirement that it has to be constructive in this direction, or it has to be wrapped up at the end with certainty. It wasn't there. That's not philosophy. When you're philosophizing, you don't necessarily come to a concrete conclusion. You come to a thesis, a theory, and then you explore that.
And so for me, the one that I'm not nearly as good at is the listening and just kind of letting someone talk just to connect without the desire to learn more. Because for me, I'm always trying to learn. I learned a bunch this past week. A lot of it's useless, but I think some of it will connect to other things. And
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number, I'm out here jeffing, 1905, the 3 types of conversations. Alan came to me today, just fired up, said, "Hey man, I learned some cool stuff over the weekend." And I said, "All right, yeah." And he said, "We should do an episode on it." And I said, "All right, yeah." And I said, "I don't really know anything about it because you just told me about it, so I'm going to kick it to you." And this is me kicking it to Alan right now.
Well, you do kind of know about it because in the group coaching program, we talk about a solver versus a supporter, which talks about sort of the 2 types of conversations, but I digress. So on Sundays, I try really hard to have them be learning days. I'm trying to be like a sponge on Sundays, and a lot of times it's really frustrating for me to try to find good content, but yesterday was one of the best learning days I've ever had. It was just TED Talk after TED Talk after speech after book. It was just awesome. And I came across a TED Talk by Charles Duhigg. He has a book that I've started. I haven't finished it. I'm probably a quarter of the way through. It's called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. And I refer to Amy Lenius as Amy on the team as a super communicator. In book club, I've said that several times. And I don't know if I'm one or not. I think I am. And again, it doesn't mean I still need a lot of work in communication. But there's certain people who you know are going to be good coaches. There's certain people who you know, I'll never forget this, when we were at the Airbnb, I believe this was Next Level Live 2022. As soon as Amy got there, I knew I could focus and she was going to take the show. She was going to host. And so I would imagine that Amy, if she were ever to host something at her house, she would be a great host because she's a super communicator. She can connect with anyone. And for anyone out there who feels like a super communicator, what I believe you're good at, and I believe I'm good at, not always, especially not if I'm triggered, but what I believe I'm good at, because in college I used to call myself a chameleon. I could fit in with anyone. In high school, I was friends with the jocks, I was friends with the nerds, I was friends with the video gamers, I was friends with the goths, I was friends with the guitarists, I was friends with all the different groups. I was a chameleon, and in college I actually lost myself because I was friends with too many people, and I was too many different versions of myself. So if you've ever felt like you are a chameleon and you can fit in anywhere, most likely you are a super communicator. Now, according to Charles Duhigg, there's 3 types of conversations that you're always having. The conversations that Kevin and I have on this podcast are almost always 2 of the 3. So the first type of conversation is practical. It is the solver. It is, I have a problem. Let's identify the root cause of that problem, and then let's work on it. Let's strategize. Let's solve it. The second type of conversation, and this is so we're getting off of Thanksgiving week in the U.S., and last week I was in South Carolina, and one of the things that is challenging for me is most of my life is self-improvement, self-development, personal growth. Most of it is solving problems and or deeper understanding. I don't really do as well anymore with the conversations that don't have a ton of substance, deep conversations. And in this TED Talk, Charles Duhigg talks about deep questions. Instead of asking, "Hey, how are you?" and Kevin saying, "Great, you?" I would say, "Hey, how do you feel about your progress lately?" Go ahead.
Oh, very strong to semi-strong, I would say.
Okay. Why do you feel that way?
Just been doing it. Just waking up and doing it, I would say.
Can you answer
you
the
want me to
actual
expand?
question. Yeah.
I feel very good. I feel like we've made a lot of progress. I feel like we are getting to a new level of responsibility and a new level of opportunity, which are both exciting / scary at the same time.
So I was telling Kev earlier before we recorded this episode that I jump on every coaching call, every team meeting, not with answers, but with questions. I'll never forget this past 2 weeks ago, I met with Ron. She's the director of Next Level Podcast Solutions. And I remember thinking in the morning, I'm prepping for my day. I looked at my calendar. It was overwhelming. And I was like, okay, Ron's my first meeting. I'm going to prep in my mind. And I was like, I'm just going to come with a notebook. I'm just going to come with an empty notebook. I'm going to ask her how things are going. Because I'm not going to come with answers. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to come in as some dictator who says, we're going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to come with curiosity and questions. And the curiosity component, I do that with every call. I was just on a call earlier. It's, hey, catch me up. How are you doing? One of my clients just moved from Dubai to LA. How's LA? And then I'm gathering information. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out where to take the session. What is a bottleneck? I'm trying to identify a bottleneck. So when you ask with curiosity deep questions, people will reveal to you what they need in that moment. Now, this requires you to be very others conscious, not self-conscious. I think self-conscious people who are very insecure have a really hard time being super communicators. And so you got to be careful, because if you are a super communicator, you also most likely lose yourself when you're around too many people. Like last week was very hard for me. It was a lot of people under one roof. I kind of lost myself a bit. I had to go sort of run away and get back into my bubble and find myself again, because I'm constantly asking about other people. Sometimes I feel like I help other people with their life more than I work on my own. And that's my nature as a coach. That said, you start off with curiosity. You figure out which conversation you're in. The first conversation you might be in is problem solver. Second conversation you might be in is the most common one, which I kind of suck at a little bit, especially lately, which is people just want to be heard. They don't want a solution. They just want to be heard. They just want to vent. And then the third one is existential conversations. These are the deep meaning conversations. These are the ones that I do most of the time with you, which is, I don't just want to talk to you, Kev. I want to figure out about myself, about you, about the world, about others, about how it works and why it works that way. I need to understand. These are the deeper understanding conversations. So conversation 1 is practical, solver. Conversation 2 is supporter, which is just be there to listen. That's what most people actually want. And then number 3 is existential, which is let's get a deeper understanding about ourselves and about the world so that we can make more effective decisions moving forward. And those are the 3 types of conversations. And if you want to be a super connector and you want to be able to super communicate effectively with all different walks of life, you're going to have to come in with curiosity, ask a deep question, and then figure out where that person's at.
What do you think of if you require one more, does that mean that's the one that you are weakest at? So if you are someone where you come to me and you and I are talking and I just let you talk most of the time, and then maybe I'll try to bring something up if I feel like I have value to bring in that moment. But usually it's just let you talk. I have clients where I've talked about this many times. I have a client who's a therapist, and I therapize. We just therapize together. And she'll literally start the call on a 20-minute rant.
Nice.
And I just sit there and listen. And I don't make a noise. And then at the end, she'll say, what's your take on all that? Kind of, like you do. So say, okay, the floor is yours. And then we'll just do that for pretty much the entire time. She does really well.
It was whichever one you need the most is the one that you do the least, kind of like love languages.
Potential, yeah. That was my potential thesis.
Because with love languages, a lot of times what we're giving is what we actually want to receive. So in this case, you're probably really good at one, decent at one, and then really bad at one. All of us. The one that I'm not as good at is people who just want to be heard. They just want to talk. Some people just want to complain. They don't want a solution. To me, it's, as an engineer, it's let's find the root cause of this and solve it, or let's find a deeper understanding. Some people actually just want to talk.
Well,
that's really hard for me.
Not everybody's willing to sign up for the soul level. That's what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make the third one soul level.
I call them bobbers. people who can't go beneath the surface much. You know that quote, it's really well known, which is, you can only meet someone as far as you've met yourself. And so with Emilia, she had met herself much deeper than I had met myself. And so I started doing therapy, and I've really caught up a lot. But I was on with a client recently. They have 2 young kids, and I said, I don't really know how to talk to kids, because they came in like, oh, hi, and hey. I have no idea how to. She's like, just talk to them like they're humans. It's like, I just get all weird. People get all weird around kids. I have no idea what to say to a 4-year-old.
You ask them what their favorite. Who's your favorite Marvel character?
No,
Boom,
I
you're
think
off
I
to
asked
the
what's your
races.
favorite subject in school. I don't even think they're in school yet.
That's an L. That's a big L right there.
Big L. But they can't go super deep because they don't have that deep of awareness. You and I can go deep. And would you be willing to share what it was like? I remember one of the reasons you wanted to hang out with me in the beginning was because I could talk deeper than most people.
I enjoyed having hyper-conscious conversations, and there were people in my life at the time who, I won't say they made fun of me. They jokingly made fun of me. They weren't super into the philosophical, super deep conversations that I wanted to have. So when you and I would hang out, we would talk about like all sorts of random, just deep. It didn't even seem like it could matter in any way, but it mattered in all the ways. Just didn't seem like it. Like just philosophical, just deep stuff about everything. And I think I don't know, there's a permission to throw something against the wall and see if it sticks or not. I mean, you and I have had a lot of deep conversations, but like, what do you think about this? Do you think that's a thing based on this? Like, do you think that could possibly be a thing? So I think it was 2 things. I think it made me feel smart and stupid at the same time. But
Hopefully
it gave me an
order.
opportunity. No, in the other order. Probably the other order. But in my own way, though, I felt smart if I could keep up. So it's not, I don't know. It's not that I ever felt dumb. I never left feeling like I never left feeling bad. It's like, oh, you don't really know anything. That happened later when we started interviewing people. I was like, this isn't great. But it was more the fact that we could just explore through deep conversation. There was no requirement that it has to be constructive in this direction, or it has to be wrapped up at the end with certainty. It wasn't there. That's not philosophy. When you're philosophizing, you don't necessarily come to a concrete conclusion. You come to a thesis, a theory, and then you explore that. So I think that was what was exciting for me, is I wanted to talk about cool shit that I felt like nobody in my circle was really talking about because it didn't really seem to matter. I wanted to talk about what kept people up at night. Like, I want to talk about that stuff. And it requires a certain person that's willing to have that conversation with you. And you were always open for those conversations. So it was always super fun for me.
Yeah, it's very important to ask why. Well, why does that keep you up? Oh, well, why does that keep you up? Well, maybe this. And so.
But it's heavy, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
I think I sent a message to Alan the other day, and I said, hey, I think we've lost sight a little bit of how capable we are of pouring into other people's lives, because we've just done a lot of work behind the scenes on pouring into our own lives. And I think when you grow and evolve and your self-improvement set point increases, you're just able to give more. Like, there's just more to give. And I don't get as tired from giving, and I don't get as overwhelmed as I used to when I'm giving. And I think another thing that it's easy for us to lose sight of is not everybody wants to have the super deep, life-altering, awareness-shifting conversations all the time. because there's a recovery. It's like a hard workout.
Yeah.
You can go do 5 hard workouts in a row. And then as you do them, you kind of need less recovery time. In theory, you should probably get enough, but you can go back and you can get after it again. I think it's similar to that.
In bodybuilding or fitness building, there's something called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. And when Emilia and I first started doing fitness together 5 years ago, I was already far into my journey. And she was into Muay Thai, but not weight training, and she would get way worse DOMs than me.
Yep.
Now, is that because her workouts were better? Maybe. I think it's more because my body has adapted. Like, I have DOMs from yesterday's leg day, but not that bad. I mean, I remember when I first started lifting, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And now I barely even get sore, and I think part of that is because I'm not working out hard enough. The other part is because my body has adapted. But ultimately, that's very true. What conversation are you used to having? What conversation do you need to probably have more? And what conversation are you decent at? So if I were to do this for Kevin and myself and for anyone watching or listening, it would be, okay, which one am I really good at? I would say the existential one. I have a hard time these days having a conversation where there isn't a goal to understand something or someone more. Like we saw dolphins in South Carolina. It's a lot of the conversations were very surface level conversations about a lot of things that, in my opinion, don't really matter that much. And I guess now I understand that it's just to kind of connect, for the sake of connection, rather than to like learn something, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so for me, the one that I'm not nearly as good at is the listening and just kind of letting someone talk just to connect without the desire to learn more. Because for me, I'm always trying to learn. I learned a bunch this past week. A lot of it's useless, but I think some of it will connect to other things. And like I've figured out that Rome was 1.9 million square miles at its peak, because we were talking about Gladiator 2, and then I looked it up, and one of the reasons I looked it up is because someone said something that I thought was wrong, and I needed to go find out the truth. But ultimately, there's the conversation to be heard, just to connect. There's the conversation that would be the shoulder. Someone just wants a shoulder to lean on or to talk to. The other one is the solver, which is I actually want to strategize about this problem, identify the root cause, and solve it. And then the third one is I want to understand myself and the world at a deeper level. That's the one that I'm doing all the time, because you usually can't solve much if you don't understand yourself or the world at a deeper level.
What do you think mine is? What is my weakest? One didn't jump off the page necessarily immediately for me.
I don't know if you're as good at, and again, this is through my lens of me being probably pretty good. I would say root cause analysis is one of my strengths.
I would say so.
And I think that's not for you. Like, you'll come to me, Kevin's panic move is call me, and he'll come to me when there's something that's too complex to like figure out. And I don't make that wrong, but I think your weakest is probably identifying the root cause of something. Even though you're actually still better than most about that, maybe.
Well, you're the person I come to when you're the person I come to when I can't solve my problems or the people I'm trying to help's problems. So you're the final boss I call in.
I appreciate it. I should
I
probably
only
lean
call
into
you.
that, because
For sure.
as a coach, that's really what people
you
want,
reverse
right?
engineer. Reverse engineer. That's not my jam necessarily. I'm way better than I used to be, for sure. I'm way better than I used to be. I feel like the one that you're really good at receiving might be the one that you suck at. I think. I'm really good at listening.
The one you're really good at is listening, yeah.
How often do you ask me a question and then I give you a 5-minute monologue where you have to listen? Almost never.
No, not. I think you're a really good supporter, but some people want feedback.
Of course. I know
like,
that.
I can, and again, I'm not trying to project. Kev says that people love when you tell them about them. I would argue that sometimes, you're probably there to support Taryn all the time, but sometimes she probably wants actual solutions from you, and she's probably digging for them.
No, well, that's why I ask. That's why I ask the question.
Yeah.
You want support?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want support or do you want a strategy?
I think you're good at the existential one as well.
That's probably my favorite. I like
same.
listening. But the thing for me is you could put me in a room with anyone, and I'll try to have a really cool conversation. To me, I like practicing. When we went to Thanksgiving, and one of Taryn's uncles is a musician and playing music for a long time, and just one of those guys that just has a lot of awesome stories and likes to talk. It's like, awesome, cool. This is gonna be an easy conversation for me. I'll just ask a couple questions. I'll pull the string. We're gonna be fine. And one of the questions I asked was, "What's the long-term goal? Like, you're playing more music than you have. You're getting opportunity. Like, why are you doing all this? Are you just doing it because you like it, or?"
That's existential, I would say.
And it was
That's a deep question.
But he was very open and very receptive. And to me, it's always like, I try to treat everything like a podcast interview. Always. That's what I'm always thinking. Like, what's a cool question that either I want to know or I feel like this person's never been asked before? I like that. I like that stuff.
Asking and answering questions is not only how you connect with human beings, but it's also how you connect with yourself. It's how you think. Last piece, I know we got to jump. I was on with Nikita, shout out to you, earlier today, and she had just moved from Dubai to LA. And I asked her, I have it written in my notebook, and I love this question. What are the top 3 things that you love about LA? Because I was in LA in my early 20s, and I visited many a time. And what are the top 3 things you can't fucking stand? Like, I need to know that answer, because it's so cool to learn from other people's experiences. You don't have to go to LA and learn what sucks. You can just ask someone. It's such a cheat code, man. I always ask this question. You've heard me do this behind the scenes. It's, what would someone in your industry, what would someone who's not in your industry never find out unless they were in your industry for a decade? I find out so much cool stuff. And one of the bodybuilding ones that I give is, if you look healthy backstage, you're going to lose on stage. You're
in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble if you look healthy. I remember I showed up to my fitness events that I lost, and I looked very healthy backstage.
It's not a good sign.
Yeah, not a good sign. If you're not looking sickly, you're pretty much screwed under those lights.
You're in trouble. Sun's coming in my window.
But yeah, so those are the 3 types of conversations. Existential, which is deep, deep, deep. Being heard, which is people just wanting to connect on the surface. And then sometimes a little deeper. And then the last one, which is solver. You want to strategize about an actual solution, identify the root cause of a problem.
Sometimes it's hard with you because I'm looking for a solver, but it's not that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that sucks.
I think that's what I'm supposed to lean into, is being more of a solver and less of an existentialist. Ooh. That makes me sad.
Well, practice on me. Awesome. That's awesome news.
Yeah, because people ask me questions, they actually want the how. They don't want to know.
I'm all for re-examining my entire life through a 3mm scope in the next 5 minutes. I'm all for it. I'll do it every day. But 5 steps would be cool too.
Sounds good, man.
As well, in coordination with.
Agreed.
I would like meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
And veggies. Not really. I don't really want veggies.
Emilia always asks, "You want a salad?"
No.
Yeah, I should though, so I do. But
throw some croutons on that bad Larry.
Got to.
So we have some rosemary croutons. Ooh. Eat those by themselves. But that probably means it's probably negating the benefits of the salad, unfortunately.
Not probably.
Maybe.
Definitely.
Possibly. Next Level Nation, if you want to have deep conversations that make you re-examine your entire life. No, it won't happen often. Sometimes in Next Level Nation we have those questions, but oftentimes it's something easy that will boost self-awareness, that'll get you off to a good start on that day. Right? We don't want you to have to re-examine your life every day. We have a private Facebook group called Next Level Nation. Conversations like that happening all the time. We would love to have you. Link will be in the show notes.
And if you want to align your goals, metrics, habits, skills, and identity to make sure that you achieve your dreams and are fulfilled and successful, reach out. I would love to help.
Boom. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, you don't have fans, we have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Talk to you soon.